So everything, in my opinion, that's cool about Mono can be traced to the coolest one of them all, the cool kid in the class, 6.
Until we win. Or we die.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you that 6 is a good girl, that she's a hero. The case I am making, 6 is a cooler, better character than Mono. I'm not going to say she's not evil. I'm not going to say she is evil. You know, eating a rat in a nightmare world, the nowhere. You know, famine sets. You're hungry, you're in a spot where you don't know, there's horrors all around you. You know, you're in a highly anxious environment. Famine's gonna set in. Eating a rat, I could excuse that. Eating a lady, who is evil, by the way. We're getting into the gray area, cannibalism, whatnot. But I'm gonna excuse that. Eating a gnome, I cannot excuse that. But I still think she is a better character than Mono. And before I get deeper into it, disclaimer. I played the second game first, Little Nightmares 2. I played that one first. Then I played Little Nightmares 1. And I've listened to 3 chapters of the Sounds of Nightmares audio story, short story. I don't know what you call it. That's what I know. Oh, and I've talked to some Little Nightmares fans, people of the community, a little bit about Little Nightmares, but nothing too deep. So what I know is Little Nightmares 2, Little Nightmares 1, and 3 episodes of the Sounds of Nightmares. I have not played Secrets of the Mob, but it was spoiled for me that the lady turns a kid who's like Mono or 6, turns them into these gnomes. So I know the gnomes are generally like, they're good guys. So disclaimer's done. Let's get into the meat. First, I want to touch on this timeline paradox of the Thin Man and Mono, the time loop per se. From our perspective, which is Little Nightmares 2, the first act of aggression comes from Mono as the Thin Man. And Mono, as the Thin Man, kidnaps 6. From 6's perspective, this crazy, lengthy, weird man in a cool looking hat kidnaps her. Who rescues her? Mono. It's a theme in Little Nightmares 2 of Mono rescuing 6. And when it comes down to 6 rescuing Mono after Mono just destroyed her music box and defeated the Altered Form 6, I'll call it a defeat. Altered Form 6. We'll call it that. We'll give Mono that. Whatever. After that happens, Mono has to lean on 6 yet again, because it's not just Mono who rescues 6. I don't know how many times 6 had to lift Mono up from ledges in Little Nightmares 2, but it was a lot of times. Maybe we'll do a video of all the times 6 helped Mono. But when it came time, after the music box was destroyed, the infamous scene, 6 seemingly betrays Mono, and the whole Little Nightmares community just loses their minds and becomes anti-6. But here is the case for 6. It's gonna rewind again. I'm gonna repeat myself. Let's put ourselves in 6's shoes. She gets kidnapped by this man, this Thin Man. She's holding Mono at the ledge. He looks down at him. She looks down at him. I think she sees Mono as the Thin Man. So in order to save her future, because she sees Mono as the Thin Man. She decides to drop Mono because she's saying in her head, if she recognized Mono as a Thin Man, which I believe she does, she sees that Mono cannot be trusted down the line. So from her mind, perhaps the first act of betrayal comes from Mono as the Thin Man. And so she instantly retaliates by just dropping Mono. To me, it's a time loop paradox. I don't know how time works in the Little Nightmares universe. I told you what I do know. I don't know if the moment Mono or the Thin Man travels back in time, if he creates an alternate timeline, you know, the many worlds or multiverse theory that a lot of shows and movies touch up on now. I don't know if it branches off into another timeline or if it's a linear, like, you know, the great grandpa paradox. Maybe it's just the grandpa paradox. Either way, I don't know if it's a linear. I think, in my opinion, which again, I'm not coming from a point of authority, in my opinion, I think it's separate timelines. I think in our timeline, if the Thin Man doesn't kidnap Six, I don't think Six ever drops Mono. And I think I don't know if there's a beginning, but I think that's the first act of aggression from Six's perspective, and I think to defend herself, she drops Six. But, you know, let me know what you guys think about the whole timeline paradox, if and where the beginning is. I know a lot of you people are going to say Six created the Thin Man, therefore it starts there, when Six commits the act of betrayal. But what if the timelines work differently? What if, yeah, Six in one universe betrays Mono, but in our universe, she wasn't gonna betray Mono, but because the Thin Man comes into our universe from the future, because he just traveled to the past, he created and altered another timeline. That's what triggered it in our universe. Because in our universe, the first act of aggression is for sure the Thin Man, who we now know is Mono. But that's all I'm gonna say on the time loop. It's a paradox. It's an inconsistency in logic. So have fun with it. It's not logical. It's a matter, in my opinion, of preference. But I'm going to move on to why I think Six is just a better character. I think Mono is vanilla, golden retriever. He's just your typical, I'm the good guy. I'm going to help this poor girl. I'm going to just do what I can to be good. I think it's kind of boring. And it's just vanilla, dude. How many times do we see that? Six, on the other hand, and let me just say this, it's kind of an unfair comparison as far as character development because we only have one game about Mono. We have 2 games about Six. So Six has a lot more subject matter. So she's gonna come off as more, I guess, more dynamic just because she's got more depth. She's got more lore to her. But with that said, every kill Mono has, he has to use a weapon. Six has killed people with her bare hands. And to me, that is so, that's giga. That's badass. I'll just compare it to hunting. I said this on my last stream. You hunt with a gun, which Mono was the first person to use a gun. But it was against someone who was trying to use a gun on him. So, you know, it's equal playing fields. But when you hunt with a gun, I don't really see it as sporty. I see it as, you know, you're just trying to hunt. Maybe you're hungry. I'll just say that to feed yourselves, you hunt with a gun. There's no sport to it. You hunt with a bow and arrow, now we're getting sporty. And I think that's awesome. If you are going to hunt and use a bow and arrow, I see you as a superior hunter than someone who uses a gun. It's a whole nother level to hunt with your bare hands. And that's what Six does. Mono always needs a weapon. But Six is not afraid to pull her sleeves up and just get in the minutia. I don't know if I use that word in the right context, but we move. But 6 is faster. She's definitely cooler than Mono. She can kill you with just a look. It's just 6 is cooler than Mono. I think she's more dynamic, but I don't really think that's saying much just because, like I said, she's got Little Nightmares 1 that's based on her. I said 1 and I held up 2 fingers. Little Nightmares 1. And I think that, you know, she's just got more lore, she's got more subject matter, so she's going to come off as more dynamic. But I will say this about Mono. The Thin Man is, up to this point of the games, the most powerful bosses. And I love the Thin Man. I love his vibes, his glitchy walk, how slow and ominous it is. I like his outfit, his attire. The Thin Man is just top tier. It's awesome. But everything that's cool about Mono tracks back to 6. Why is he a nice guy? Because he saves 6, rescues 6. Why is the Thin Man so cool, and how does he get all these powers? Because 6 in some timeline drops him and he's trapped and banished. So everything, in my opinion, that's cool about Mono can be traced to the coolest one of them all, the cool kid in the class, 6. With that said, I had to put this out there. I was having an argument in the YouTube comment section. Who the hell argues in the comments of YouTube? This guy right here, me, right here. It's what I do. I don't do it all the time, but I did this time. And so I was having this back and forth, and I'm thinking, why don't I just put this out there? You know, my reach may not be that of the janitor. It's definitely not the reach of the Thin Man, but I felt compelled to put the idea out there because I love the Little Nightmares universe, and I'm beginning to love the community. With that said, there's probably more. I did this all in one take. I have no script. This is all just off the top. There's more that I wanted to say. It's just not coming to me. So I'm just gonna get out of here. Let me know where you guys stand, and I'll be back with another video. I'm just completed one video, the Sounds of Nightmares Chapter 1 review. I think it's like a 23-minute chapter if you watch the actual Sounds of Nightmares. I think my video is around 8 minutes, so it's kind of a condensed version of the short story, audio story, whatever you call it. But yeah, with that said, I love the Little Nightmares universe so far, and I hope they make a show about it in the future. They have a podcast, they're coming out with short stories, there's a 3rd game coming. I don't see the end in sight, and I hope they make a show out of it. It kind of feels like Stranger Things, but cooler. Either way, I'm yapping. I'm gonna get out of here. Peace.